Welcome to Small Arms Solutions. Today we're looking at another Smith & Wesson Legacy pistol. Now, not too long ago we did a video on the Smith & Wesson 1006. Now, Smith & Wesson 1006 was very influential due to the fact that it was one of the first pistols chambered in 10mm. Also the fact that there was another gun that was the exact same size that was in the old American 45 automatic, which is a Smith & Wesson 4506. Now, one of the things that's really interesting about this pistol, other than the fact that it's like a boat anchor, it's extremely heavy, it's all stainless steel, it's very overbuilt, was the fact that this is one of the first Wonder 45s. Now, what I mean by Wonder 45s was non-single action only, where you had a double action. Now, this was predated by the SIG P220, which was a decock only 45. Pretty much held the same amount of rounds. This is 8 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. It was a single column magazine that was about the same, but it was a decock, so you did have a double action. But this was one of the first ones that gave you both the decock and safety on there, and it gave you that basic feature of the first double action semi-automatic pistol. So that was sort of where it really stood apart. Now, there was two models of this. You had what was referred to as the model 4506, which had more of a squared off type grip on here. And it also had more of a nickel plated hammer on it. And it also, the way it was marked was different. This one you will see is roll marked. The 45-1s were mostly towards the later days, they were all laser marked. Also, the earlier ones all had a plastic. As you can see from this model 4006, there was a plastic type handguard on here. And this had a Hogue rubberized grip on here, so you had those different. But overall, this would be the trigger of one of the earlier generations that you'll see that is stainless steel in color or nickel in color, but these both have the black hammers on them. Now, the 4506 in either configuration came in two ways. Either had fixed sights like you have on here, like the Novak type sights on this 4006, or you would have a fully adjustable rear sight on here. Now, this pistol has some memories for me because there was a gentleman when I was probably 21 years old going to the gun club in Rochester, New York. His name was Jim. He used to always shoot one of these. He used to shoot steel targets with these. We used to shoot bowling pins, and I actually competed against him with my Glock 21. With his Smith & Wesson 4506, so I'll never forget that. Plus, you have to remember television from, us Gen Xers. When Sonny Crockett on Miami Vice got rid of his Bren 10, he went to a 4506 as well. So that gave a little bit of notoriety to the 4506. So the 4506 went into production in 1988 and went out of production in 1999. Around that 1999 time was when you were starting to see the M&P series come out, where Smith & Wesson got away from all of their steel frame and alloy frame pistols and went to the striker-fired pistols, which we see today, which, these are all but gone. Now, however, these things do still have a lot of, they have their people who love them, and they do go for well over $1,000 on Gunbroker when you can find them. But you're looking at 45 auto caliber, 2.6 pounds. This is nearly double the weight of a Glock 21, or more of the modern pistols. You're looking at a barrel length of 5 inches. Now, the trigger pull on this one was a double action of 12.25 and a 6.25 pound trigger pull on single action. Now, the single action here was definitely a little bit what I'd call gritty, but it wasn't really bad by no means. And again, you have a full stainless steel slide and barrel. Now, for as far as safeties is concerned, this pistol does have, and you may or may not be able to see right here, but when we take it off, you'll be able to see, it does have a firing pin safety. So this is a pistol that would be safe to carry for law enforcement use, and it was. This was carried by several law enforcement agencies. So you have the decock, and you have the manual safety, and you have the firing pin safety. But it also has a feature that many people did not like. When you were to drop the magazine out, you pull the trigger, it would have a magazine disconnect. I went to the Smith & Wesson Armor School in 1994, right in Massachusetts, and we were shown in there how to disengage this because there were police departments who would buy these guns who did not like that, so they would disengage the magazine safety. So we're going to show how this thing comes apart. Now, again, we have to go all the way to this area right in here where the stop is. Push inward, and as this comes forward, it's going to drop the hammer. We have push in and pull out of our recoil spring, and we have our barrel. We have very good machining on here, but as we can see right here, the plunger here, this would be our firing pin block. So that's the most important safety. As you can see, when you put your safety on, the safety actually covers the rear of the firing pin anyway, so the firing pin can't be struck by the hammer. You have a very heavy-duty recoil spring on here, and your spring guide is stainless steel as well. Also notice that we have a plunger on here on the back of the recoil spring guide. Well, what that does is it engages a notch on the slide stop, which is what locks it in place so it won't walk out on you. So that's the purpose of that. When you look at the frame, as you'll see here, big, heavy piece of steel. You have a disconnector similar to that of a 1911. You have your ejector. You have to push downward to slide over during reassembly. You have right here. You have your firing pin safety, which was the trigger is pulled to the rear. This engages upward, and then you have this lever here, which is your decocker. So that would get pushed downward. That would decock it. That would work in conjunction with the safety. You have a relatively narrow feed ramp on here. This looks like it's actually been polished down by somebody because it got rid of all the edges on here. These were designed mostly as ball guns, but as hollow points at this time period, in the 88s, that's when you had a lot of the Wonder hollow points came out, the better hollow points. They would develop them so they would work in guns that were designed to fire ball ammunition. So for reassembly, just drop in like so. Now there was one part, and that was the decocking arm on here, which had to be custom fit per each gun. So these parts were not all drop in when they would be replaced. You gotta be a little careful. I don't want to launch this at my wife there with the camera there. So to reassemble, you put the slide on the frame, push downward on the ejector, downward on the other two components, which is the lever for the slide stop and for the decocker. Pull back to the rear. Read analysis, we'll take us to the range and we're going to see how it shoots. Now, due to the fact this was also a loaner from our buddy Brandon over at the gun room here in Texas, we only put about 200 rounds through it. That ammunition would include Black Hills 230 grain ball, SIG 230 grain ball, and we also had some SIG V Crown. And as you can see from the target, it shot quite well. Now, other variations of this model, there were a few. You have what's referred to as the 45-16, which is the compact version of this pistol, the 3 3/4 inch barrel, 7+1 magazine capacity. The 45-46, double action only, with a 5-inch barrel version. 45-63 was a mid-size 4 1/4 alloy frame, with the first alloy frame of all the Smith & Wesson 45 series. The 45-66 was a 4 1/4 inch full-size frame, double action only with a bobbed hammer, stainless steel frame with a melanite coated slide, and it was manufactured for the New Hampshire and West Virginia State Police. 45-67, mid-size 4 1/4 stainless steel full-size frame, blue carbon steel slide with tritium sights. There was only 1,236 pistols produced in 1992. The 45-05, blue carbon steel full-size pistol, only 1,200 were made in 1992. And the last one was the 45-86. It was a double action only version of the 45-66, no external safety. partial hammer, and they were manufactured for the Idaho State Police in 1992, which was discontinued from service in 2002. It did have some service life as a law enforcement pistol. These pistols never had any kind of military application. They never were able to survive any military testing. They did see law enforcement use because, again, it was the first really good American-made semi-automatic Wonder 9 or double-action type pistol. But they died a relatively quick death with the introduction of the Glock, which had caused them to drop this and go to the Sigma, which, as many of you know, Smith & Wesson lost a major lawsuit because they basically copied the Glock pistol, and that led into the M&P series, so these are now more of a collector's items. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please click like, please subscribe, and even better, share. Thank you.